Hello, we are the Ministry of the Real Truth. This video is in response to a comment we received under our video, The United Church of God. We are in no way angry or resentful over it. In fact, we appreciate it and we are very thankful, very grateful for it. Here's a thumbs up towards it to show we really appreciate it. We truly appreciate it, as it has reopened our eyes, or opened our eyes even further, even more, and we can use it to create a video. Thanks for that. This video in particular to validate ourselves. Let us now look at that comment and pull it apart. Explain ourselves, to validate ourselves, right? Okay, so when we created this video, we put a description underneath it. Insights into the United Church of God. It's received 562 views. Cheer. Thanks for that, all you out there. We at the Ministry of the Real Truth delve into the many church denominations worldwide. We look at them, listen to what they have to say, read what they have to say, etc. Their claimed facts, the established facts, their proofs, their evidence, etc., etc. Okay. We explore their founders and their claims, right? Be it the evangelists, their preachers, teachers, whatever, from that denomination. Their life history, their background, like any good journalist would do. They would look for the dirt, if there is any dirt. We're not saying we're journalists, but we use that method. Okay. We explore their founders and their claims, their life history and claims, in order to reveal the real truth that all in the world are being deceived. And there's a link to probably a scriptural verse, biblical verse, like Revelations 12:9. That serpent of old, called the devil and Satan, who deceives the whole world. So the whole world is deceived. How are they deceived? By a false church, false ministries, false doctrines, bad translations, transliterations, etc., etc. If you were the devil and wanted to deceive the entire world, how would you approach such a challenge? And there's a link to that, Wikipedia, right? And some information on United Church of God. It may upset some. It's too bad. It doesn't seem to do that much. Okay. The United Church of God, an international association, UCGIA, or simply UCG, is a non-denominational religious group based in the United States. UCG itself, the United Church of God, an international association, with the last three words italicized, in order to differentiate UCG from local congregations and denominations which bear similar names. UCG holds doctrines and beliefs similar to those taught by Herbert W. Armstrong and the former Worldwide Church of God. You can go to our Patreon page if you want to become a patron, want to donate us. Okay, help us secure a new ministry residence, as ours is now too small. We're doing it from home, right? And here's our PayPal account, donation account. It's completely up to you. If you want to do monthly or whatever, okay, there's no pressure there. Okay. And not too sure if there's a song on this. I think it's just the audio. Yeah, in the background. Right? All legal. Okay, so we've put here 2 months ago. We improved it so it makes sense. Welcome, United Church of God, New Zealand. There's a link to it. Official website of United Church of God, New Zealand, a Sabbath-keeping Christian church that aims to follow the original teachings of Jesus Christ and the first century apostles. Okay, so that's what we looked at, because we have the supposed original, ancient, hidden and preserved manuscripts, okay, from the Church of the East. These were given supposedly to them, the original Apostolic Church of God, right, founded by Thomas, maybe Thaddeus, and Addai and Bartholomew and Peter had something to do with it, right, in the 1st century AD. They hid and preserved these manuscripts from the Roman Catholic Church and Islam, who just really wanted the land, and they said, "What, you can't have any idols or any things you venerate." So they got rid of them and had icons. Okay. So these hidden and preserved manuscripts, hidden and preserved for over 2,000 years, have been attested, is that the right word, by the then patriarch in 1957, Mar Isai Shamun, right, who was later assassinated, as to be as intact as the day they were given to them, that church, the Apostolic, Assyrian Apostolic Church, etc., in the 1st century AD. They've never been messed with. They never had a need to do that. Because why? Because it's in their language that they spoke. So they just look at it, they read it to the people in their church or their mass, right, who are native born speakers of that particular language. So they've never had to change it or translate it, or whatever, mess with it, translate it into other foreign languages. But along comes a guy who's translating supposedly from the original Eastern Syriac Peshitta, okay, as Andrew Gabriel Roth has done on the Aramaic Scriptures.com, into English, right, with their mission statement that they wanted to translate all into the closest or the nearest English equivalent as they possibly could, because there's a lot of words in the Aramaic, ancient Aramaic. This is the original ancient, very old Aramaic, right? Not the modern Syriac, but this guy, Andrew Gabriel Roth, translated from the Eastern Syriac Peshitta. He said, I bypassed the Latin Vulgate, the Septuagint, etc., etc., and then the Western Peshitta to bring the nearest equivalent. He translated it into English and keeping it as close to those original texts as he possibly could, because there are some words in that ancient or the original ancient, very old Aramaic, in the case of this guy Victor N. Alexander, a native-born Aramaic-speaking translator from Bet Naharain or Mesopotamia, Syria, that translated the same way as Andrew Gabriel Roth had done, at the AramaicsScriptures.com. Okay, that's his website. Right. He was doing the Syriac, the Eastern Syriac Eastern Peshitta, into English. He probably, I think he said he finished the New Testament, and it was finishing the New Testament, translating it into English from the Syriac for his friends and Christians, right? Later Christians. So they would have the truth of what the scriptures originally said. Along comes a high priest from that Apostolic Orthodox Assyrian Christian Church of the East, right? And says, what are you doing? And he says, I'm translating using the Syriac. He goes, oh, okay. So this priest goes away, comes back, now what are you doing? Oh, I just finished the New Testament. And this priest says, what, you translated from the Syriac? And he goes, yeah. Except your teacher. He says, why did you do that for? When it all originally was in the Ktav Avri, or the Assyrian Aramaic. Okay? So he goes, oh my goodness, I have to start my work all over again. Okay, I don't know if I'll be able to complete it, because he just finished the Aramaic, Galilean-Aramaic NT, right? And he's quite old and not in greatest of health. So he said, I may not be able to finish it all, but I might pass or whatever, because it's about 60 or 70, right? But he's not worried, because someone else might pick up his for where he left off and carry it on, right? So here's this website up online called va.com, but there's some strange blog site that said that his name is Victor Isaac Alexander. Right? We were like, what the hell? Went on his website, and on the cover of this book, or inside this book, it says, this translation, it says Victor Nimrod Alexander, because they're Syrian or whatever, they're descendants of this guy Nimrod and these supposed Jews that come out of Egypt, right? The Exodus, right? And all this sort of stuff. So, and this guy's saying, oh, he needs $100 to put his website back up because it was down, right? And we're like, ooh, a bit dodgy there. This guy Bennett or whatever is saying that his middle name is Isaac, which is a complete lie, right? So we've been trying to get hold of this Victor N. Alexander to ask him all these questions, because there's some weird stuff that's come up online that His grandfather was the first director of the CIA, and then he went to Hollywood, did those silent movies, got really famous, popular with that, right? Did really, really well. And then the next person that stepped up as the head of the CIA, or maybe the one after that, were doing dodgy stuff. Okay, and then Dr. John Merrick, the Elephant Man, his grandson was a doctor who was doing some dodgy things, and then the Queen of England was doing dodgy things in conjunction with the CIA, in conjunction with what went down in World War II. Okay, so we're trying to clear all that up, but he hasn't got back to us, right, through his email. So we're requesting Mr. Vic out there, lovely older man, the translator, our moderator, our mentor, even though he won't officially say, yeah, I'm your mentor. Okay, we just like to call him that because we spend a lot of time corresponding with him via email, right? Had a bit of a chuckle with him, and he once said in an email comment, but I messed up my Gmail account, whatever. It might still be there, the email, right, that we sent back and forth. And I was asking him questions about all these different other Aramaic things online, right? And he says, well, you find some really weird things in regards to the ancient Aramaic, and we had a chuckle, right? That's how nice a person he was. So over time we began to build trust with that guy, put our trust in that guy, because we tried to catch him out, as much as we could, but we never could. We had a problem with the English version, where actually in the English, we will Americanized modern Bible versions, translated in English, say that Christ was God incarnate in the flesh, right, came to earth, and etc., etc., to try to bring Israel and then non-Jews back to God, right, because sin divided them, separated them. There's a great gulf in between all of that sort of stuff, right? So we thought, well, how can he be God if God's up there on a throne and he's on the earth praying to him, right, in the Garden of Gethsemane? That doesn't make sense. Well, how can he be praying to God if he's on the cross and his Father's sitting up on a throne up in heaven? Or John in Revelation sees God sitting on a chair, right? He recognises it's God. He can't really see his face, but he sees his figure with the scroll in his right hand. And he's like weeping and wailing, but the angel says, oh, don't worry about that, stop your crying, wipe your tears, whatever, because there's another one that can do it. He's the only one in heaven and on earth that can open the scroll, right? And he says, oh, I saw another. Oh, look, I saw another, and behold, he looked like the Son of God, the Son of Man, because he knew who Jesus looked like, right? Because he spent a lot of time with him as a young fellow, 20, whatever, right? Because he was really young, right, at that time, when Christ ended up on the cross. So he ended up living on Patmos Island, the next island, or whatever, until he was about 100. Then he passed, so he lived a hell of a long life, right? Okay? He said, look, I saw one walking amongst the menorah, the candles, the 7 lamps, the candles, lamps, whatever, right? And he looked like the Son of Man, like a lamb that had been slain. So he knew that was the Christ, right? And he came and took the scroll out of the right hand of he who sat on the throne. That was his Father, whatever, right? So he saw 2 separate beings. Okay? So he thought, well, it must be 2 different beings, right? You can't be God if he sits at the right hand of God and all that sort of stuff. But this Victor N. Alexander, he's got a funny way of looking at Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, Jesus Christ, for he is God, he is the Allah, he is God. So he scratching our head and went through his translation here, and yep, sure enough, it says he is God. Okay, oh Allah, you are Allah, right? Which means he is God. There's different scriptures that verify that he indeed is God. Like he said to Peter, who do you say that I am, Peter? And Peter says, come on, man. Come on, Lord. You're the Son of God. You're the Messiah or the Mashiach, right? And he told Peter, yeah, if you've seen me, you've seen God. Because we are one and the same. We are one. That's what it means in the Eastern mindset, right? But you've got your Western terminology and your Western translations, and what you're trying to do is you're trying to translate an Eastern text, right? Written down by an Eastern scribe or monk with an Eastern mindset, and you're trying to translate it by using the Western mindset, right? Which is completely different. Okay, they might say in the East, oh yeah, that's a fable. They might admit to it. That's a myth. but they believe it. Okay, because every myth has a little bit of truth in it, doesn't it? So that's what they'd say. Yeah, okay, it's mythical, whatever, but we believe it, right? Whereas the Western mindset, the Western educated person, got that mindset, right? They'll say, well, it's a fable, so it's not true, whatever, right? Because there's two different mindsets. So what you're trying to do is you're trying to gel the Eastern mindset, right? All that's written by Eastern scribes and monks, right, centuries ago, with your later Western mindset, right? Your Western terminology, your Western theology, whatever, right? You're trying to mix the two together. It's like diesel and water. They don't mix. Okay? They won't gel. Okay, to use an example. Okay, so this Victor N. Alexander, he found a way, because what he did was he actually watched this video, put up in your YouTube search the Aramaic scriptures. You come up the Adam and Eve, and it's actually he didn't put the title properly, right? It's wrongly spelt, right? Whatever, right? But that doesn't really matter. It's trivial. But it's a video where a little old man wearing a cap, right? Ford, of course. He's not a gangster. But white hair, probably about 60 or 70 looking. He's like this, and he's going "Avun ba mishmaya" whatever in this funny language, right? Okay, that's just an example. He's not actually saying the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic, but he's going on about the Brita. He holds it up like this, and the Brita is the Aramaic for the origins, the beginnings, right? Your Genesis in English, and he's talking about that, Adam and Eve being created and all that sort of stuff, right? And again, he's speaking a funny language. Yeah? He's found a way to revive that long D language, the sacred scribal old tongue or language used by the prophets, and the monks, scribes and monks, in around about 800 BC, they took all those writings, they copied them obviously, and then they compiled them into one book, a book of books, the Old Testament, right, in Ur-Hai, Edessa, okay, which is now modern Turkey, okay, and then somebody has taken those manuscripts of Galilean-Aramaic, hidden and preserved, etc., and they've translated it. Not translated it. They've copied it. Yeah, that's a better way of putting it. They've copied it, obviously, and then it's hidden and preserved. It's hidden from the Roman Catholic Church, who would come and find it, but anything like that that says heretical, right? They're a bunch of heretics. They'll burn it, destroy that church, whatever, to kill those people. Probably it's like an Inquisition thing, right? Do all that stuff which they've done over the centuries, right? And you'd hear no more of it. They might keep a copy of it and put it in the Vatican, you know, and it'll never see the light of day. Okay, so that's why they hid it from the Roman Catholics, because there was a problem way back when there was a debate between a guy called Cyril and a guy called Nestorius over the substance of the Christ, right? That he was both human and divine. Cyril didn't agree with that. He said blah 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 whatever. Nestorius said blah blah blah. So they had like a bit of an argument there, and then he started calling Nestorius a heretic and all this sort of stuff, because Nestorius was going on about hypostasis, which is that Christ is both human, can be both human and divine. He was both human and divine. Okay, so this caused outrage. He labelled him a heretic. The Roman Catholic Church labelled him and his followers heretics, right? And then they erroneously called those people Nestorians, right? So the original Apostolic Assyrian Orthodox Church of the East, they later on says, well, we agree with what Nestorius said, that Christ can be both human and divine. That's the hypostasis theory, right? So when they said that, the Roman Catholic Church started pointing the finger at them and calling them heretics, and labelled them Nestorians, erroneously labelled them Nestorians, right? They said, well, we admire that guy because what he said we'd been saying centuries before. So they got labelled heretics, hypocrites, all this other crap, right? And they got persecuted throughout the centuries, for 18 centuries, not only by the Roman Catholic Church, right, but by Genghis Khan and the Mongols, the Kurds. Okay, when ISIS came into Syria to kick them all out of their houses and all that sort of stuff. Supposedly these Kurds narked on them or pimped on them and told them, oh, Syrians live there. They provided the information. Who else was there? Islam, right? Muhammad was a nice guy. Apparently he gave them leeway for a while there, but after he's gone, this new caliph comes in and he's real cruel, so and so. Right, so he persecuted them. So for 18 centuries they've been running, mountain tops and stuff like that with their manuscripts, never ever changing it. Maybe they had it up here, maybe they had it written down, right? And they were teaching their people that, right? They were martyred, killed, for, they were just treated like crap for 18 centuries. Okay, so yeah, that's the history on them. So when they had and preserved their original manuscripts for 2,000 years, right? This Victor in Alexander somehow got hold of them. He went around the world, right? The British Museum, Paris Museum, whatever, and because he did a documentary at the Louvre or something like that of all those winged bull statues, those ancient Mesopotamian ones, because he did a history, right, of his country, Mesopotamia, right? He did a film and all that, documentary, and he went to take it to the libraries, to film places, because he's a graduate in the San Francisco Film Academy in USA, right? He's got so much experience, he knows all about how to make a film, documentary, whatever, right? He took it to them and they poo-pooed it. They says, oh, this is a lot of rubbish, it's not factual. And he says, hey, I'm a Mesopotamian, and I've done my own country's history, and etc., right? Because Christians, Western churches and that said, those winged bulls are demons and all this sort of crap, right? Whereas he said, no, they're not. They're like cherubim or something like that, guardians of temple or whatever, representations, whatever like that, right? Okay, they're not demons, but they got a lot of flack over there, right? So he keeps trying, and he's trying to translate the original ancient old sacred scribal old tongue or language. It's a dead language. It's like Latin, Norse, etc., like that. Nobody, old Germanic, old English, nobody speaks it anymore. They're dead. Right, so he finds a way, possibly through the root words of that original language, to revive it. And then, as he's showing on that video, he's brought a manuscript from one of his high priests of that original church, and he's translated it. It's in Bible format, right? He's translated that into English, using that way to revive it. Okay, and there's people out there saying, oh, he don't know how to speak it, I speak it better than him because I went to seminary, I got a pretty little certificate or degree, from the university or Bible college or whatever, right? So I know it better than him, he pronounces it wrong. But what they don't understand, because they've never studied his website when it was up deep enough, like fanatically like we have, right? They've never talked to the guy and questioned him to death, right? And got the answers from him. That he's revived old D language, possibly the Ninevite Aramaic that Jonah used to speak, right? Spoke to them. Because in those days he used to speak Aramaic Hebrew, right? But it was like interchangeable. Like apparently the Hebrew was spoken in temples for religious reasons and all that sort of stuff. It was all religious affiliated. But the Aramaic you spoke outside if you're like gossiping or talking about the latest news or the latest fashion or whatever, right? Okay? And they used to like interchange, and then apparently the Aramaic, being the older sister language, the Ktav Avri, okay, or the Assyrian Aramaic, or the Syrian Aramaic, became more popular, etc., etc. You've got to go look at the history of it, because it's disputable, right? One will say, oh, that's the older sister, the other will say, no, Hebrew's the one, the Ktav Avri, but they're both sister languages, right? Very, very old, right? Talking about the original ancient, none of these modern Syriac versions or anything like that. There's many dialects of that, and they're all modern. And that's what people are learning the Syriac. And saying, oh, that's the original text, all that sort of stuff. We know it better than this guy when they don't. You know better than a guy that speaks it fluently? I don't think so. Yeah, you can fool some people some of the time, but you can't fool people all the time, right? Yeah, so they're using the common Syriac. Even a professor that we came across asked a question about the Hebrew Israelite, right? Are they actually pronouncing the right name of God according to what they're saying, right? Yahu Wahu Wahu, or Yahi Wahi Wahi, or Yahi Woo Woo Woo, whatever, right? So we asked this professor, He's got 2 doctorates, PhDs in Aramaic and the Hebrew, possibly the Greek. Is this the name of God? And he thought we were playing games and he got all angry a bit there. But then he relaxed and he says, okay, to answer your question, because we say it's just a question, we just need an answer. So he says, what's that rubbish? What the hell's this yahoo, wahoo, wahoo, woo, woo, woo rubbish? It's not even a Hebrew. She says, don't waste your time with people like that. You're just playing games. Okay? So we verified that, because that's what we do. And we proved that that lot were lying through their teeth, right? And now there's a new one out saying, oh, it's Yah-O, it's Paleo-Hebrew, all this sort of stuff. And he's saying, I am Ban, the son of, and he's got Yah-O. So he's God, right? So he's subtly hinting that he's the son of God. Okay? Because the torrid rain fell on him, that's how God baptized him. He says the normal common baptism by John, Jesus got baptized by John in the New Testament, etc., is wrong. Okay? It's not like that, blah blah blah. And he's the new guru for these Hebrew Israelites and all this sort of stuff, and they believe everything that he says, right? When we have proven that this guy's a load of rubbish, right? We're still yet to further prove that he's one of these that's saying that he's the Christ, that Christ forewarned of, right? So anyway, so this older man, Victor N. Alexander, he's translated the ancient, or the original ancient Lishana Artica Cypraea, right? What do we say? It was the sacred scribal old tongue or old language of the Old Testament prophets and the scribes and monks in around 800 BCE. And he's also translated the hidden and preserved Galilean-Aramaic manuscripts into the nearest English equivalent that he possibly can, because some words do not have an English equivalent, like muta. So he had to hunt around and find one that befitted the meaning in English, right? So he's trying to find the nearest English equivalent and stick to the scriptures, the original scriptures, and what they're actually saying. Okay, so I keep close to it as I can, because there's idioms and stuff like that. This professor that we told you about, we went to ask him about the Hebrew Israelites actually saying the right name of God, Yahu, Wahu, Wahi, whatever, and he said no, it's a load of rubbish, right? Now we've lost track. Anyway, this professor, he's met the guy and he says he's talked to him exclusively. He doesn't agree with everything he says. He's met Andrew Gabriel Roth, the translator of the Syriac Peshitta. He's okay. They actually had a get together and exchange ideas or whatever. Right? He says he don't really. He's all right, but he's this Messianic Jew, so he's got this different reserves, right? Anyway, so this guy Victor N. Alexander's translated the original Aramaic Galilean into English, right? And you'll find in there, if you get it, that it speaks of Christ as, well, even on the Brita Genesis, when his website was up, it was actually downed, so we found a way to revive it, right? But we can't, there's certain things we feel we can't do because it's copyrighted to him, right? So we asked, trying to get hold of him and ask him, can we give you some money to put it back up, to help you, or can we put it back up there with your permission at certain sites that we know of, or even create a website and put portions of it up there so that people can read it again, right? We can't do much until we get his permission, okay? But he seems to be okay with us. He's actually signed up with us, subscribed with our channel twice, both of our channels, because we reviewed his formal website, right? But he's given us reasons, like with this other guy Bennett, what he was giving us reasons that as it was taken down. Donald Trump was his son-in-law, and he didn't like it, so he sanctioned it to be taken down. Even though there was a video of Obama and Michelle, right, actually saying, well, this guy's right on the button because supposedly Obama's dad taught him the same things as this Victor N. Alexander was saying, and when he was living in the East. Okay? So they were saying, this guy's great, right? So we're trying to verify all these claims that, his great-great-grandfather worked in the CIA and then went to Hollywood, did the silent movies with Charlie Chaplin and Max Sennett and all that, right? Became popular. This Elephant Man's grandson and the Queen and CIA did all this. In World War II, not Hitler, all that sort of stuff, right? All this other stuff that this Bennett guy on his blog site is stating, right? To verify that either Bennett's telling a load of rubbish or it's true. Okay? So, we wandered way off. But yeah, basically, it's all here. What we just said. The info from the source via the link provided is erroneous, because if they did, they would know, because here it says official website of United Church of God New Zealand, a Sabbath-keeping Christian church that aims to follow the original teachings of Jesus Christ, or Yeshua Mashiach, Jesus the Messiah, and the first century apostles. That would be the first century disciples as well, probably, because Peter, Bartholomew, all that knew Paul, the apostle, right? They came across that, right? They were the same faith. And they were Mashiachai. These disciples were called Mashiachai, not Christians.